removed her from the stream. I don't even know if she's noticed that she's
It
gone.
says the broadcast is live. There we go.
The broadcast is live. Hello, everybody out there watching, and hello to anyone watching this in the future. Welcome to this. This is a stream where we are going to be revisiting the upcoming board game by Matthew and Mike, Reluctant Hero. And in order to speak about this properly with true authority, I have with me Mike and Matt. Hello, chaps. How are you doing?
Good.
Hi, guys. All well.
All well. Oh, that's splendid, splendid. Mike, I am loving your background again. It looks a little bit more purple today, but it's still looking splendid.
What's the plush is the word I'm aiming for, I think.
Plush, yes.
Plush. I like that word.
Yeah, absolutely. Plush in a kind of, with that shade, it's got images of sort of a 60s supervillain. So very nice indeed. I'm liking it very much. And Matt, how are you doing?
I'm not too bad, and actually, Mike does have a lot of similarities to a '60s supervillain, so it does work really well.
I do actually have a suit that is very similar in colour to the curtains.
Do you? Oh my God! Does it have power shoulder pads as well? Because that's really what you need.
No, much more stylish. It's quite vintage, and it's velvet, and it's very nice.
If only he had a cat, that would just
yes. Yeah, to stroke in a sinister way with a little diamond collar on as well. Like seeing that would be perhaps maybe a character in a future game.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mike or the cat with the diamond collar.
Oh, both. I think matching diamond collars. So a little silver chain connected the two. So, it's tremendous to see you both looking so well. And I guess because we are here to talk about Reluctant Hero, the upcoming board game that you are producing, how's that going?
Well, busy. There's
busy.
Good. We're at that sort of crunch time of okay, we want to launch at this date. Okay, when we launch, we need to have a video. Right. Okay, for the video, we need this. Okay, and we also need this and this. Okay, well, how long is it going to take us to get? And it's just that kind of. Right, all the kind of dominoes are all set up now, and we've just got to work out which ones we're knocking down, kind of as it goes.
Yeah.
Just to put it in a little bit of perspective, we did the with Karen, who helps us out in our marketing, who is looking after us tonight as well, in the background. We had a date which she made us come up with for the launch onto Kickstarter. And we did work it all back, as Matt was saying, there's certain things we have to get to that, and we did work it backwards. And really at this point in time, we should have been at this point in time probably a month ago. So we're trying to squeeze that extra month into the remaining weeks before the launch.
Well, yeah, and I'm no expert in game development, but I think that's pretty much common across the board that, you've got these deadlines and then you're squeezing things in. But it all sounds very exciting. And you're feeling it's moving forward as a project?
Oh, very much so. We had a fantastic, really fantastic game test last week before that pretty sort of galvanized a lot of things we're doing. It's really helped to kind of focus in on some of the sort of technical things that we hadn't fully thought about. We were looking at sort of more standard cards, and actually some of the things that came out of the playtest have meant that we're looking at alternative shapes and bits and pieces to aid the gameplay and kind of how we can deal better with visual aspects. Because as we've sort of spoken, it's very important that this isn't just for a game that someone with 20/20 vision and perfect English can play. This has to be, we want a game that anybody can pick up and kind of understand relatively easily.
I mean, that's fantastic.
While still keeping it a fairly advanced, complex game, because that's what we're aiming for. It it needs to be very engaging. It needs to be involved, but we want to make it accessible. And like Matt said, this week we've had a real pacey week. This week, haven't we, Matt? We've had a couple of different artists working with us. We've got a lot of things achieved. Different characters come through, different artwork, different icons that we've been talking about, a few other special things that have happened. But yeah, it's been a real pacey week for us.
Good.
Card designs. In fact, actually, before the stream, I was rebatching out images of the new style of cards so that we can put that into Tabletop Simulator for our next playtest, so that the artwork is evolving for all the players, even if they've played it kind of playtest along the way, there'll be new things for them to see because the artwork is starting to come together and kind of go. I mean, as you can see, as you can't see, the background of the bar, the Foxy Lockhart is the sign is starting to come together with the new text and bits and pieces that matches in with the logo and all sorts of bits and pieces like that.
It's all coming together. And would it be fair to say that you have been literally busting out some shapes this week?
Oh yes, very much so. There was a big fish, there was a slightly smaller fish, and there was a cardboard box.
And a box.
And you were stacking the cardboard box for you, just sort of putting it on there. That's good. We've been hello to everyone watching live. We've had sort of a lot of love for Mike's background. That's been a thing. So thank you, Steph, for loving that. And so in terms of, I mean, I think I'm really pleased to hear that you're sort of taking this direction, because certainly the best games I've played are sort of simple to pick up, simple to understand and to play, but are very deep with their complexity and their strategic thinking, which absolutely sounds like the path you're taking. So that's really, really exciting. And in terms of the sort of visual look, is that sort of coming together, the cards and what's going on them?
So obviously we've got the cyberpunk, very sort of grimy, futuristic aesthetic, lots of neon, all the beautiful stuff.
Stuff.
The cards themselves, the assignment cards are 90% of the way done. I had a really good conversation with the artist this morning, and so some final tweaks and bits and pieces on there.
And that's one of the aspects we changed size-wise as well. So it's unusually, I think, tarot size. I don't know, tarot is quite a large card size. So that particular element is double the size of normal cards. So we can put more visual elements into it, make it more interesting.
That's really, really cool, because I think aesthetics are so important in a game. I know that on some levels they shouldn't be, but they just are. How a card feels, 100%. How it looks. Yeah, exactly. You want to play cards that are cool and make you feel inhabiting that role as a sort of a future cyberpunk reluctant hero. Yeah,
one of the things that we're working on at the moment is just working out what we can do, because we look at what we can cost for a standard, what we'd like to do as far as stretch goals within Kickstarter, and standard cards or tarot-sized cards is what we're aiming for. But what we'd love to do as far as the stretch goals is get them onto clear plastic, so that parts of the card are see-through, so it really kind of feels like you're sort of have digital displays. So that's the kind of the thing that we really want to sort of push for.
Really cool.
The item cards, the resources that we use. I'll move to one side just to give some love to Usher and
you are following the chat, yes. Yes. And I have to say, even though I am gripped by what Matt's saying, once again Gonzo is stealing the spotlight. That is Gonzo on the sofa behind Mike. Mike, just want to give a quick background on Gonzo again, just so that for those who didn't catch the last stream.
I'm just a big fan of the Muppets. I've got Jim Henson's autograph on some pictures of some of the other characters, and Gonzo was purchased in Disney, I think, actually many years ago as a gift for me from the lovely Irene, who some of you might have spotted last week venturing into the stream.
How is Irene?
She's doing well. She's cordoned off tonight, so she's not going to bother us. But yeah, no, Gonzo is a regular character, and he likes to take part in what's going on.
Absolutely, and he's quite the troublemaker. Do you think he'd enjoy? I think he'd enjoy this game. I think he'd enjoy the sort of the ethos of it. Yeah,
and we started to rein us back in again. The item cards. We're looking at hexagonal cards, which again makes it easier to put a layout that's sort of easy to pick up and for people to visually kind of see, because it breaks up some of the standard sort of lines of just laying cards out, which can become quite monotonous, sort of against whatever you're playing against. So having these different styles of cards, different thicknesses, different touches and feels. It also means with someone that has maybe visual impairment, we'll go for say some cards will have more of a matte finish, others will have a gloss finish, maybe a linen finish. So even if there's a slight visual impairment, they can still have a tactile difference between all the different cards. So it's easier to kind of keep getting involved.
Absolutely, and that's a lovely touch as well. I mean, even if you're not sort of visually impaired, I mean, that's great. Anything accessibility-wise is an absolute big thumbs up from certainly myself and a lot of the gaming community, because you want to get as many people around that table and enjoying this game as you possibly can. But I think that to everyone, that kind of tactile sense, the weight of the cards and how they feel, and then look on the table is a huge factor. And will this actually feature? Because I did watch the playthrough, quite a lot of the playthrough that you did with our lovely test subjects. Thank you very much. Can you call them test subjects? Yeah, why not?
I think with the people that we had playing, test subjects is definitely the right.
Definitely the right.
Group
Yes,
name.
yes. They're blessed.
So you were actually watching us rather than the rugby.
I was. You were, and it's a testament to your game that I was drawn from the rugby, and actually ended up sitting there watching you playing the sport game instead. And God knows, I wish I'd watched the ball game throughout all of England's matches this year. But never mind. Let's not develop on such things.
As a Welsh supporter, I'm quite happy to keep this conversation going. If you wish.
Oh, absolutely.
Although that French match, not.
Oh,
so well.
I know. I did watch it, and my goodness, that was. I think that was one of the strangest finals I've ever seen in my life. It was terrific, except for the result, of course. Vive la France. So anyway, moving. And now I'm really curious to know: will the hexagonal shape? As well as, because I've played other games, things like the game that immediately comes to mind is Twilight Imperium, which some of you might know, where you build a picture of the galaxy using hexagonal tiles, and you can map out, much as Usher says, a sort of beehive style, because they all fit together. Is that going to factor into the game, or is it purely a sort of aesthetic purpose?
It's mostly aesthetic. It just means that when you lay out your item cards in front of you, that you can fit them together and have them there. So rather than everybody's kind of creating one complete map, it's a nice kind of visual, almost like the beehive hadn't sort of put that together of those items. So it also, everybody sort of lays out their cards kind of differently. Even if you've got a standard set of cards, some people will hold them in some way or lay them out. Having those hex means that they can actually, it gives you patterns that you can start creating if you are so inclined.
It's important. I mean, because some of the scenarios that you have to create within the game, there's quite a lot going on. So anything you can do to make it visually easier to spot that, that color goes with that color and that icon goes with those two icons. That's where we're trying to get to with all these different things, just to make it, because it is quite complex, but trying to make it easy to follow and understand and actually play.
Yeah, our whole kind of development has been create the game and then try and work out how we can simplify the playing of it. So the less words we can put on, and the more specific linked colors or icons, and so actually that's the point that we're at the moment. Is we've got the game and it plays really well. How do we make it easier for people to latch into and feel like that it's easy for them to kind of not easy to pick up, but still complicated in the game itself. But how is it that we can have a better link, and the more words we can take away, the better the game is, in our opinion.
Yes. To be honest, this is the fun bit. We've done the hard work. Artwork and create. This is the fun bit now. We can start exploring, all the wider things that we talked about. We can add in. I mean, literally today, as we were talking early on, we were talking about accessibility, and we had an idea about Braille on the cards. Now's the time that we can start to fit all that sort of extra bits in, because it's fun to do, and we've done the hard work. The game plays fantastically now.
Or we start adding in more hard work, because now it's even while talking this, it's like, how can we put Braille into the cards? Can we do it as a standard thing? Can we?
I do love the difference. I was chatting with the guys a little bit before the stream, and so we're thinking about Braille, and immediately Matt's face was like, how do you do this? I was like, the difference between where your guys are at is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing to see, and because this is it's very important. There's a lot of playing of cards, isn't there? And obviously, your cards do affect other people quite a lot. So I imagine that's been quite an impulse as well. So people can easily see what's being played in the middle.
Yeah. Well, it's because the game itself at the moment contains just under 500 separate cards. So there's a lot going on.
500 separate cards.
Yeah. I think it's nine and a half decks. Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
that's about 500. Yeah,
And that's obviously split between the assignments, the reputation cards, and also the items that are being used. So it's all split between different types of cards. But there's a lot of pieces, and obviously then we've got the coins and the augment tokens to go on the player boards and bits and pieces as well.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the coins, because I saw the rather nifty coins on Tabletop Simulator. Are they actually going to be metal or plastic, or are they going to be actual coins?
Well, what we're looking at the moment, and so actually, Mike, you can. It'd be nice if we could get.
Yeah. A few interesting points on the back of that. I think before we talk about the coins, I will briefly talk about. You said there's loads of components. There's 500 cards, loads of components.
Yeah.
What that leads us to in this point is we have to think about what does that go in? What does the box look like?
Yes.
On the back of that, one of the options for probably not the core product, but perhaps an add-on on Kickstarter or a stretch goal. One of the if you imagine. Yuland, a champagne box, Joe. You know what champagne comes in often.
Obviously, yes. Look at me.
A long sort of champagne box like
every morning, breakfast of champions. Just get a box delivered, crack it open. There we go. But yes,
picture that size and shape in your mind, and the nine decks and all the components will get. As you take them out of the box itself becomes not a kaleidoscope, but like a scene box in itself. So when you pick the box up, there will be 3-dimensional scene dividers where the various cards went, and the box itself will become part of the story. So box 1 is actually, if you've seen the teaser video, the video stops at the door at the alley into the Foxy Lockhart on Planet 1. You'll see that as a 3-dimensional die-cut view through the box. So you'll see the logo, you'll see the table, you'll see the characters, and then at the very back through an imagined window in the bar, you'll see the universe of the 7 discovered worlds beyond. And then you'll be able to, as the game develops and other things happen, and if we achieve stretch goals, there'll be other scenes that you can drop in as well. So as the narrative develops, the story within the box can develop as well.
That's such a cool idea, because so often I'm sure that everyone's the same. You've played a game where you open it up and it's just this miasma of all the cards everywhere and all the tokens. And I remember as a child, any game started with half an hour of sorting it out, and then you could get on with it. I think that's really cool. And obviously that does touch on something that I did want to ask about, because it's obviously set in the bar, the Foxy Lockhart, named after me. So you're in this bar, but the world it inhabits is far, far greater, isn't it? Did you say, I think there were 7 worlds that this is just one world of? So
this is one bar in one city in one of the planets of the 7 discovered worlds.
Wow.
Yeah. Probably we may have gone a little over the top, considering a lot of this. It kind of came from when we were talking about how the game plays, and both of us really like the kind of thematic elements within a game, and a lot of, as we talked about before, having to have if we're going to do something in the game, there has to be a reason, like a quote unquote real world reason. Yes. And so within that, we started developing, and there's the world and everything around it has taken up almost as many conversations as as just purely the gameplay situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the thing. And actually, already we're getting B Daddy Usher, who I believe was one of the playtesters, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Says stretch goal, artwork, and background book. So, and I mentioned this, I think already it's grabbing my imagination, and I think it's grab other people's imagination of like, okay, so you've got this bar, tell me more about the world, what's going on there. And I think logistics is such an important part of any story, but especially science fiction, because you have to understand, how did this situation arrive how it did, to there. I explained that badly. I'll give you an example of something a wonderful book done, poorly in this sense, which would be Frank Herbert's Dune, which is an amazing book, and he paints Arrakis in wonderful detail and the Fremen, and then when he broadens it out to actually how the universe works, it's a mess. He clearly doesn't care. He's given it no thought at all, and that's why the later books just descend into utter madness, because it's like, well, what was this? So you've been giving some quite careful thought, have you, to how the world fits together?
In my opinion, Ender's Game as well. Ender's Game was a great book. After that, it just didn't work.
Just mad. It's and people pick up on that because the world has to make sense. What I don't understand. How why why is the world like this? And if the answer is not good enough, it can. I find it sort of switches me off a little bit. But no,
yes, we actually after chatting with you last time, we were one of the people that also playtested an early version, and one of our playtesters for our previous game. I got a message within about 10 minutes, I think, of finishing, going, I didn't realize there was that much sort of information behind it. We really need to turn this into an RPG setting. So we've actually started having a conversation about what possible way we could turn this into an RPG. We've been looking at whether or not we want to try and sit it within a current like 5e or Pathfinder 2nd edition, that kind of thing, or whether we go for something like Fate Core and all that sort of stuff. So there's been also a lot of work behind of, well, these are all the ideas that we sort of came up with for bits, but we aren't using for this particular game. What could we put together to kind of make sure we don't lose it and flesh out the idea of a more immersive experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And
because for us, how it started, we had a 500-word background narrative that we were working to, and we still work to that for this particular element of the game. But we used Trello to manage what we're doing, and there was a Dropbox in Trello, and we said, any ideas, just drop them in. And eventually, there were so many ideas in there that we thought, wow, this is bigger than we are talking about. So that's how the 7 were. I mean, the 7 worlds were mentioned because the 7 worlds were actually created because we needed to, as Matt would describe it, post-rationalize a reason for having 19 hours in the game. So we said there was the great expansion in 3033, and the 7 discovered worlds had some standardized time over the universe. So that was our post-rationalization for the 19 hours that we play in the game. But,
I like it.
But that led us to talk. Both of us wanted this game to be a really expansive game. We wanted it to be a big game, and it is on its own, but the plan is that over as we continue to make games in the future, we'll always come back to this theme, and we could set new games in new worlds. This one's a card game, the next one could be a board game, the next one could be a video game. We have no idea, but they'll be set in the universe that we've created of our 7 worlds, and again it ticks the box because we wanted everyone to be involved. So the idea as we go through with some of our social media is people can name the worlds, they can choose how the worlds appear, how they look, and then that led us, if we're going to encourage people to do that, let's get them to come up with the characters and name the characters in the games and things. So so it's totally, it's not open sourced, but we want anyone that's interested in this to get involved with it from the start, so that when eventually a game of Reluctant Hero arrives on your doorstep, whenever it does from the Kickstarter campaign, you feel that you can say to all your mates, I did that, I came up with that idea, or I named that character, or that world's named after me, or whatever you want to do. So that's the type of thing we want people to get involved
and again, we're like a massive thank you. You mentioned it before to B Daddy or Usher, who after playtesting, again, I mean, it's partly to do with the time difference of him being in the States, but ridiculous o'clock in the morning, as he does, I suddenly got some messages with some video, some audio files, and he's got a fantastic album that's just come out. You should go and look at Focus Zero and look at Pandemic.
Project Pandemic.
I was thinking Pandemic Proposal, but that's just himself and Ross.
No, I think that's just him and Ross. Yeah.
Fantastic album, and he a couple of things he put together, tracks which we'll be using for the trailer video. They're fantastic bits of work, and that's been really nice to sort of other very, very creative people just sort of getting a bit of spark from this and then throwing random stuff at us has been fantastic.
And that's because they're big up. Actually, he's a tremendous fellow and a very, very talented sort of a musician.
Oh no, he's a
and
terrible
beekeeper.
person, but a really,
He's a
really
terrible
good
person.
musician.
Yeah, a terrible person.
Yeah.
But it's a testament to the worlds you're creating that people want to get involved and use their imagination in that way.
And if we're in plugging mode at the moment, we're going to plug. We've got a competition running at the moment to name one of our characters, which is our Granny Smith character. So if you follow us on social media, you'll have seen our backpacking, cat-loving, whiskey-loving, death-laden granny. But she needs a name.
Yep.
We need a few ideas. Dolores is the current winner at the moment. Well, in terms of numbers, it's the winner. Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we do need more. We need different suggestions. And for our other characters, they come up as well. There'll be things that people can contribute to as well.
Yeah,
Actually,
and
I think speaking of which, there's now a nice segue time.
well, I was going to
Good.
mention about these characters because a lot of them are really good, really interesting, and then you've got this one Duff one. So, but
So,
So could we have a drum roll? Is that possible?
Yes.
oh, is that a drum roll? Oh,
Can we drum roll it?
That's the best.
I don't know.
Karen's in the background frantically, just sort of tapping on her desk.
Okay, 3, 2,
No,
1.
Ooh, okay, cool. There I am. I suppose that is me.
That is you. This is the barman of the Foxy
You mean
Lockhart.
you can't recognise it.
I can, and I love his coat. I very much share his sort of a sense of style, and also is that a projection he's got in front of him?
Yeah,
the visor.
Sort of ocular projection thing.
yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm jealous of his ears. I'm currently sporting a pair that Matt kindly bought for me because my own pair went missing somewhere in my house to my devastation. But he looks great. Thank you so much, guys. He was wicked. And this is I think you mentioned that the art style of that is going to be there's going to be a theme. So you're going to have all the characters kind of looking the same.
I'm actually going to go completely off piste. And I'm just waiting to see the kind of terrified face of Karen.
I can hear Karen's exploding somewhere near Chester.
Yeah, slowly being scared. This is Quinn. That I'm also going to.
Oh, who is Quinn?
Quinn is one of the actual playing characters, so we'll be on the player boards, and they are a character of sort of Anglo-Indian descent. They have quite a backstory behind them, which I probably won't going to go into in all the detail. But we tried to make sure that what we didn't want was a complete set of binary white characters of sort of standard body types and bits and pieces. So
yes. I remember the last time we spoke, you were very keen to make it inclusive and a wide range of characters, just to properly reflect, how the humanity is, So he's a playable character.
They.
Oh, sorry, they. So apologies. So they're a playable character.
Yes. So they are going to be on one of the player boards. We've also got so Granny will be another one of the player boards.
Yeah.
Artie, who was the girl that we mentioned previously. We've also got a couple of other characters. I don't know if Mike you want to mention about.
Well, I was just going to say the only ones people might recognise, Granny and Artie, are on our social media. So you will see Granny and Artie images that we've got on there. We've also, which I've just managed to lose off my screen. So hang on a second.
I saw it flash up. What do you think of Fox's character? I love Fox's character, and actually, do you know what? I had a little bit of influence just on the face, just obviously a bit of eyeliner I think we did, and a couple of things, but the fashion was all original, and straight away I was just like, I love it. That's exactly how I would look. I've always loved long coats and.
Did you want to hear the brief that we put for your character?
Go on then.
I'll give you a précis of it. He won the bar from his previous owner in a card game. The previous owner is none too happy as Foxy. He thinks Foxy cheated. So Foxy keeps an arsenal of high-tech weapons close to hand behind the bar. He's also had a few technical augmentations made over the years to help keep him ready for anything. However, all his augments are internal or cerebral, and Foxy has a toned physique from yoga and jazz dance classes, but he snubs traditional gym. To look at him, you would never suspect he's been augmented. Foxy likes to look sharp and loves bright neon blues, pinks and purples. He's got a collection of vintage Levi's and Vans skate shoes, which he pairs with a vintage logo tee. He likes to wear his trademark Foxy ears and can sometimes be seen sporting a vintage Explorer's pith helmet.
Amazing. And,
so that's the description that went to the artist.
Wow, that's pretty freaking cool. I love that background. I want to be literally. I want to be that Foxy somewhere in the far distant future. And I did mention that, of course, I've got a shotgun, a 12 gauge shotgun that fires 12 gauge neon behind the bar. So just because you just would like, you don't know who's going to walk in this bar. Because also we'll talk a bit about the bar. It's not sort of the swankiest place on the planet, is it? It's no. Like. It's definitely somewhere where
it was a place. It's a place of faded grandeur. That's part of the description of it. So.
It's like me.
It's still got a lot of its sort of original pieces, and they've just not been looked after too well. That's the problem with it.
Yes, yeah, and I think that faded grandeur is a sort of a key part of cyberpunk anyway, because you've got the shiny corporate headquarters, and then you've got everywhere else that's sort of, this place was pretty nice 100 years ago, but the people are trying to keep it going, and they're trying to add little bits to make it sort of keep it going. But really, it's just this gradual descent, which is fantastic. I love it, guys. I love it. So excited. And
that gave me a few moments to find my screen. So the other characters, which will be coming up shortly, we've got. If I say this one more, so Quinn, we've talked about. We've got Huxley Kwabana Aduro coming up. Then we've got Zeljko Roberts. Jelko Roberts.
Jelko, yes. He's we've tried to get our characters a wide range. So and also with different levels of partially augmentation, but also sort of again trying to keep with the inclusive, rather than it just be a kind of stamped on feel, which again you get in certain things. We've really tried to look at which demographics are maybe underrepresented and trying to bring those in. So with Huxley, for example, we're looking at a gentleman with vertigo, and so that's a defining part of who he is, and sort of everything on there. Jelko, that's sort of a more it's a twist on the standard military sort of badass. He is still, but it's more of a wiry and there's a lot of backstory about him losing his husband and all sorts of things. It's there's a lot of information that
and we have some fantastic backstories. The earlier on, was it on camera that we had Jess crawling around? It wasn't, was it? No,
it wasn't on camera.
It was okay. Our character consultant, if you like, is also Matt's fiance, and she's written some really beautiful backstories about the characters. And is it one or more than one that's Canadian? Because Jess is Canadian.
Oh, one of them, Artie actually.
Artie is Canadian, right?
Is Canadian based, but we've got various African and Asian descents, Europeans. Again, with trying to get as much sort of mixed heritage, but also other bits and pieces. So,
my favourite character coming up, which we have, is Felix and Marigold Baxter, the twins, and there's a beautiful backstory about those.
And again, we're trying to look at, so the twins are kind of in their teens, and again, we didn't just want this sort of standardized late 20s sort of they're in their teens. Obviously grannies, we don't want to ask her age.
Who knows
it's the sort of thing, she terrifies us. So but so Felix and Marigold, again, I was going to say they're Mike's favorite, and Felix has sort of cochlear implants, and there'll be sort of sign languages in there, and his sister Marigold has more of an ocular. I think, and there's again more information on her spending a lot of time in a kind of augmented world, so she's never far away from having sort of ocular implants that she'll kind of slide into to get away from the real and spend more time with people in there, which kind of comes a little bit from sort of people would know more recently with the kind of Ready Player One, but actually
I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people are looking to escape the world right now.
I mean, I've got friends that I've known for 15, 20 years from when I used to play World of Warcraft, and I've never physically met them, but I've known about their children getting married and having children and all sorts of other bits and pieces, and it is that kind of just dropping away from the real. I mean, even now this year has been a perfect example. Take various people in the chat now. I've spent a ridiculous amount of time with and chatting with, but never physically met.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to imagine a world that's expansive in the future. You'll have lots of these people that you've worked with for years and never actually sort of laid eyes on them. But well, speaking of meeting people, so we got these wonderful sort of varied characters, lots of inclusion there, lots of great characters sort of meeting in my bar. To get their assignments, aren't they? So this is where the action takes place. Just for anyone who's not so sure. And how does that play out? So what happens there?
Well, it's the place where they come to because of they come because it's private, it's secret, it's somewhere they've been going, because heroes live much longer lifespans than the rest of us do. And it's somewhere they've been going forever, and it's developed into a place where they go and meet, and they play the game, which is building these scenarios not to do the assignments they've been given. And over time, it's become accepted by the corporation that issues the company or whatever we choose to call it in the future, that issues the assignments, that they have installed an assignment issuing device in the Foxy Lockhart bar. So Foxy has branched out into assignment distribution as an additional money earner. So they come to the bar, they get their drinks, they get their assignments, and then they spend their time trying to persuade other people to do their assignments.
Yes, I like that idea, and I think he might have dabbled in the past. And is this sort of like a dead drop? Like the modern equivalent, like the sort of like the future equivalent of a dead drop, where people go, we've got a job, we put it in there, and it will go and it will get done, but we're not sure. We just need this done, and we're not specifying anyone to do it, because the object of this game, which is really intriguing, is to not do any work. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. So you players
but still
are combating.
make it look as if you are.
Right.
Yes, the idea behind it is trying to do as little as possible. These guys
I think they call that homeworking now, don't they?
Yes.
Do they really? In our day, there wasn't anything for it. You just did it. It was instinct. And so you go to the assignments, and so these come out of the machine, so the ticker tape machine, or ticker tape machine, good God, the hyper advanced ticker tape machine in the bar, and then you sort of you make other people do them, and you may do them yourself. Is that right?
Yeah. So all of the assignments have obviously a monetary value. You do a job, you get paid. There's also a kind of a kudos, a reputation for it as well, and those reputation cards help you do other bits and pieces, or at least actually a lot of the reputation cards stop you being able to do jobs. They'll give you augmentations, or they'll give you kind of ways to avoid actually doing any work. And so money, most of these heroes have made their money. They're not really that fussed by getting paid, but they'll use that to convince other people to do it for them. So when you make somebody else do one of your assignments, they get paid, you get the reputation for it. It's still got your name stamped as being done. So you sort of imagine it that the assignments are handed out randomly, but they are then once you've taken the assignment, it's flagged in some database in the company headquarters to say this assignment was given to this hero, and then when it's done, they just get a tick off. The corporation aren't that fussed by, as long as it gets done, they're happy. So
yes,
yeah.
And are these jobs sort of below the legal sort of radar? Is that one of the reasons they're just sort of they're sent out here because it's like we don't really want to be associated with this, so we're going to farm it out because is there illegality?
No, it's quite the opposite really, because they are heroes. So the jobs were the government sometimes asks heroes to do unpleasant things, but or the corporation asks the hero to do unpleasant things, but they are, it's things that heroes would have done. So, if if that's going to blow up, go and stop it, go and save that bus from exploding or whatever. But they are heroic acts. So that it's not all dark stuff. It's heroic acts of heroism.
They're still kind of core good. Want to be helpful. They're just tired, bored, and can't be asked, basically.
Something that will resonate with a lot of players out there, I'm sure. Certainly resonates with me, and that's I really like that aspect of it, because often cyberpunk and the far future is seen as a lot of the takes on it is that it's quite gritty. It's also grey legality. Anything kind of goes, but it's all a bit morally sort of suspect. So I like the idea of the fact that I just can't be asked. That these jobs are they're noble and good, and there's nothing wrong with them. I just can't be bothered to do them. I'm rather sit here and have another drink. So that's really nice. And well, I can answer one question Stu asked in the chat. Will there be lock-ins at the Lockhart? Yes, of course.
That was Stu's second question. I think you should answer his first question. Was will Foxy be cosplaying as Foxy at some point?
Hey, I mean, if you'd like to approach a top costumier or something like that to make that outfit, I will wear it every day. I can say I was actually looking. This is okay. So, the cyber things. I was actually looking at those today, like the visors. I've always wanted one of those visors that looks like a sort of hologram thing. So you never know. And I do have my new ears.
Not you that advertises bingo on daytime TV, then, is it?
My bingo would not be no. Although there might be a bingo night at the Foxy Lockhart. Who knows? With we're open to all suggestions.
That's game number 2.
That's game number 2. Yes, reluctant bingo. It's so good. I'm just so excited about this. It's so intriguing. I think you've avoided a lot of the pitfalls that come with the settings. Which is why I was sort of subtly digging a bit deeper there on sort of the worlds and how it's going to fit together, because it's nice to play something positive. Would you say that this is a kind of a positive experience, this game, because you're not really trying to screw anyone over, so you're really trying to just sort of win by
I mean, it's a positive experience. The game is fun. It's positive, but I think as far as from a storyline, I think it's a neutral game. It's sort of it's kind of real. It's not everything's amazing or everything's terrible. It's sort of meh.
Yeah, exactly. And Usher has chimed in the comments up on the bottom of the screen. The entire idea of doing nothing to win speaks to my soul. And, because I think there is, unless most of us, that's a very human kind of thing to do. Because most of us, if you're like, oh, well, I'll you can win this by just sitting there. You'd be like, oh, okay. No, I really want to go out and do lots and lots of backbreaking work. You're like, no, I'm quite happy. You can have another cocktail. I'll have another cocktail then. Yeah. And it's and certainly, so obviously, this is the sort of the idea. We've got lots of ideas about me cosplaying now going up in the chat. We'll talk about that later. And I'm really excited to hear about sort of how this world's going to expand. I think as you're touching on what you said earlier, because it's the way you've painted this canvas. I love the fact that people can have input into what happens. So do get in touch with Matt and Mike, and you obviously absolutely charming, lovely fellows. But of course, that's a key part. If you were going to go a more RPG route or something like this, you've got different worlds that you could set adventures that people could then have these adventures on. So you can have a barren, deserty world, and a very industrial world, and a lovely garden world. So which I think's really important. Have you found in the past that helps you when you RPG, because you can think, okay, cool, I want to go there, so I'm going to set an adventure there?
Yeah, I suppose sort of our approach to the kind of the world is similar to our approach to the kind of characters within it. We want the variety. We want something different. We don't just want the kind of standard 5-man party of heroes trudging through a desert or trudging through a having a cyberpunk city that has large amounts of greenery would be interesting. I mean, you suppose you take London, for example. Everyone sees it as grey and boring, but actually there's huge amounts of greenery in London that you don't even notice, but it's all there. And so having that sort of variety, something different, but also being able to expand. And again, as you said, love having people sort of inputting, and more than happy to go onto our Discord and throw ideas and bits and pieces, all sorts of things.
It only needs to be the kernel of an idea as well, because it suits the way I like to. I'd love to be a writer, but I don't have the patience nor the skill to do it. I just get bored too quickly. I could never write, a book, but just from a kernel of an idea, we can write little scenarios that we love. But yeah, I'll share one with you today, actually, which I was only thinking about as we were getting ready to this. And I was thinking it was a throwback to an old Dynasty or Dallas storyline. And I was thinking somewhere in the future, we're going to discover that Foxy isn't actually Foxy. You are his brother from a previous time. And he's going to walk into the bar one day and want his property back or something like that. So you can have all these fantastic little ideas, just jot them down, and they can form. If you present them to other people as a narrative, they can then build their own worlds around those. That's what's fun about the way we do this.
Absolutely, and that's a key part of as I said, the RPG side of things, because people want to build on your foundation. And Steph already in the chat had a good idea, and this is of course works very well for that same idea, that you'll be able to easily spot out the newbie heroes still eager to do good, whilst the wizened heroes just hang out at the bar. and of course straight away though you've got your new party of players, you're all level 1 heroes, and you've got a quest giver. Bang! There we go. That is literally the foundation of a successful RPG system, where it's like, you've got to go and do this stuff. Why am I doing this? I can't be bothered. And I'll throw you a tidbit. I'll get the credit for it because you're just who are you guys? But you'll
get paid.
I'll pay you, and I'll maybe toss you a little tidbit on the side, and I'll help you out in the next sort of quest and things like that. A very good question we've had from Paul, who's a long-term supporter of the community. So Kickstarter info, any news? So how is the Kickstarter going? We haven't really spoken about the Kickstarter. Is it still running?
It's not launched yet.
It's not launched yet. No, sorry, of course it hasn't. I was thinking about I was speaking to somebody else yesterday who was halfway through the Kickstarter, and I got confused.
The time scale is it's going to launch mid to end of June, early July.
Okay,
but there will the campaign preview page will be made available probably in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Well, I know that Asher has already said, "Take my money," which is.
I mean, essentially, everything is there to what we want to be doing. The key thing for the sort of the early release and then from there is getting our video done. And obviously, we had our teaser video. What we want to do is make sure that a lot of the artwork that's being produced, so like the ones that we share today, are in that and is cohesive. We didn't want to just have bits and pieces and have it sort of cobble it together. We really wanted to sort of do it justice and piece it together. Yeah. So that's why we were hoping to have it launched slightly earlier, but we decided that we'd push it back just to make sure that we have everything as tied together as we possibly can. It's also quite important for us within the Kickstarter and how that's put together and delivered. Is what we don't want to do is have one of these Kickstarters that people get excited about back, and then 3 years later it may or may not turn up in the post. We are very much as soon as the Kickstarter has finished, and hopefully that we fund, within a week we will be speaking to the factories that we'd have already got everything set up to start getting the production dates and things like that. Yeah. We probably make things a bit more difficult for ourselves, but we don't like to rest on laurels. We want to make sure that we love this game and we want to get it to people as quickly as possible.
Yes.
And that's a really kind of key focus for us as a company, I suppose.
Hand on heart, I'll give you a date, but it probably will get pushed back a little bit more, because to be honest, we are having way too much fun at this stage with new ideas. Would you like another exclusive, Foxy?
Yes,
and with an interesting backstory, another Matt's post rationalization of how we got to it. The organization giving out the assignments has got a name, and it's the corporation is called AEC Hayem Whitman Limited.
AEC Hayem Whitman.
Now,
Hayem Whitman.
Yeah, and how we got there was AEC Hayem Whitman around the Second World War. They were the Southeast's second largest button manufacturer. And on the back of that, they got involved in military uniforms for the Second World War and leveraged their connections with the military. And they are now the corporation in the 7 Discover worlds after taking over Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Amazon in late 2012.
Very cool.
So that's really how they got to where they are, all from buttons.
And sorry.
No. Well, no. I love that. Because it's humble beginnings. It's like started off with old man Whitney sitting there hammering out the buttons. In the future, are there going to be more corporations? Because they could have different flavors, perhaps. So you could take a job with this corporation. However, it might be a little bit more suspect, but the pay's better. But it morally may be a bit more like
there might be a corporate takeover in the offering. You never know.
Yeah. That's going to be really, really cool and wonderful to have. Again, I'm loving the backstory stuff. I know that there are going to be players out there who don't so much care for the backstory and they'll just want to play the game because it's a really, really fun game to play. But I love the fact that there's lots of backstory, because I'm the one who sits there and reads all the stuff and be like, oh, that's really cool. And Matt, you were going to say something a little bit about the corporation.
I mean, what we're sort of again thinking is a lot of this stuff comes in and we're like, well, there'll be references to it within Reluctant Hero, but the idea that this is all things that we can start to bring in. So again, it's one of these problems of like, we've been talking about this, and it's sort of then to things like the second Foxy doppelganger, and I was like, well, how do we turn that into a separate thing? And maybe there is a game in there about the corporate takeover, and maybe charting the course of these sort of intercorporation kind of. But again, this is why things maybe take a little longer, because we get a little distracted into
wait, there's the shiny thing there. Yeah. But I mean, that must have been a clue to you guys that you'd really hit on something very it's a very fertile sort of ground if you do keep having these ideas. Because I don't know how you guys feel, but I'd always rather be in a place where I have too many ideas than too few. Sort of, and you're both really excited to keep developing this sort of vein in these worlds, I presume.
Yes, a little too excited. I have been told to stop talking in the chat a couple of times and let Mike have a word in edgeways, but
I'm seeing a different chat. I'm just seeing instructions. So please make sure you mention this.
The darling Karen, a big shout out to Karen. She's working great guns
producing as well. Yeah,
she really is. She really is. And well, I mean, I could sit here talking for ages and ages and ages about this, but I guess we should possibly be drawing this to a little close, because it's we are running at 53 minutes, which is a little bit over what we're anticipating. But thank you so much to everyone who's watched us live, everyone who's watching through my channel, which is twitch.tv/Foxy_Lockhart. Thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure having your comments, and thank you so much to everyone who's jumping on these Discord servers and helping out and supporting the game. If you'd like to influence or enter the competition with Granny, what can people do? Do you want to give us a rundown, one of you? Just what people can jump on board?
At the moment on social, I say there's the competition for Granny.
Yep.
There will be another competition coming up to do with the bar and the planets as well. The 7 Discovered Worlds, they all need a name and a look. So those will be coming up as well.
Fox Populous. What? Say what? It was my evil twin brother. He's gone off and he's runs a planet.
As Stu says, just with a goatee.
With a goatee, yes,
The-
with a big moustache.
Mirror Universe goatee.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
if you just follow our socials, that's the best way to stay involved.
So follow the socials. Steph has put a link in the chat there for the website, which is www.matthewandmichael.co.uk and then /reluctant hero. But if you follow matthewandmichael.co.uk, that will take you to the website with all the information you could need.
And the store for other purchases as well.
Yes.
Father's Day coming up in a couple of months.
That's you doing your
More
60s
games for Father's
supervillain
Day.
thing again, isn't it, Mike? There we are. You've got your cat out. There's lots of things you could buy.
And yeah, Karen will throw the other social links into the chat right now. She's nodding, so that's good. And yeah, just to reiterate some other little bits, I would definitely say go and have a listen to Focus Zero's bit. Definitely join the Discord for Foxy if you haven't already. It's a fantastic group of people, and Usher, who's also there as well. And
we did just to mention as well, we did a game unboxing of our other game on the Square with Stu.
Yes, Stu Jackson.
Do you have the details of that one to share?
Yeah, that's twitch.tv/Stooge_action. And you can come and see bits. He did focus a lot on sort of Star Trek bits and pieces. Star Trek Sunday, again, fantastic creator. Go and big up. And yeah, come and join us on the Discord, which again, Karen will chuck a link into. If Karen gets a word in edgewise, it looks like Steph is right on it with our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Instagram. But yeah, come and join us on the Discord. It's always interested in having a chat.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very friendly, supportive community, and not just gaming, all kinds of geekery and wonderful things to happen there and chat. So you are more than welcome to come and join. And hopefully soon, I'm wanting to get a play test in because I want to get my hands sort of down and dirty at the Foxy Lockhart and actually play this game, which I hopefully will get very, very soon. So yes, thank you so much.
Send us a message on Discord. I know Steph is itching for the chance to play again as well. So yeah, just let me know. We'll set it up.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Karen said socials. I'm not sure. I think we've covered pretty much all the social aspects, haven't we?
They're on the ticker now. I can see them going past.
Oh, they're on the ticker. Oh, yes, there we are. How lovely. Well, she's good. She's good, you know. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Matt and Mike. This has been so much fun, and I'm so excited about the game. Thank you for coming and joining us this evening.
It's our pleasure. Well done. Thanks.
No, it's a pleasure. And thank you too. As we say, do jump on any of those platforms, come and join in, get stuck in, and hopefully we will see you soon at the Foxy Lockhart to play some Reluctant Hero. But for now, good night, everyone.
See you later.
Button.